Welcome to Bootstrapped Unicorns. I'm your host, Josh Pies, and this is the show where scrappy founders, rebellious visionaries, and business misfits pull back the curtain on what it really takes to build something extraordinary from absolutely nothing. No trust fund, no fairy god investor, just grit, duct tape, caffeine, yeah, and that dream. We're talking about the wild, unfiltered ride of turning chaos into cash flow and ideas into impact. So buckle up. This is no Disney movie, but there might be some magic. Let's face it, even Elon started in a garage. So without further ado, let's get to the next episode. Welcome to Bootstrapped Unicorns, presented by C47 Digital Studios. Bootstrapped Unicorns, we are back with another Hot Takes episode. Yes, I am Josh Pies. Hasn't changed since I was born, actually. It's been a theme my entire life. And I'm glad you're back again. If you haven't liked, subscribed, followed, I'm not sure what's wrong with you, honestly. I mean, we're friends now. You should actually be following me. But go ahead and do that and then get right back to this episode because I got a new friend here. Dr. Kevin Mays is joining us, and he is a recovering psychologist, which I find really interesting. And it fits so perfectly with his life's focus of leadership. And we're going to unpack a little bit about what it means to focus on leadership for teams and businesses and your individual entrepreneurial journey. And he's got a couple of hot takes to throw at us. So without further ado, Kevin, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the show.
I'm fired up to be here. Thanks so much. I love your enthusiasm because I share that enthusiasm for all things leadership. And you know, the first thing before you can lead others, you have to lead yourself. So I'm excited about this discussion and how you can lead yourself more effectively to become the executive that your company needs.
Well, and actually, isn't that the name of your book or something like that?
It is. Lead Yourself First is the book coming out this fall. I'm fired up.
Do you have a release date?
We don't have the date yet. It'll be at the end of September or beginning of October.
All right. Well, put me on the pre-release list. I'm looking forward to this. I love great leadership texts. They're always a new perspective on an old topic that re-enliven something. So audience, if you're saying, oh, I've already read a leadership text, I'm sure you have. You need to read this one too, because it's going to bring a new understanding and a new angle for you through his vision. And I got to ask you, before we get into any hot takes you may have, the recovering psychologist thing to me is absolutely fascinating. How does that uniquely position your practice in leadership? Because it must. There's no way it's disconnected.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely right. So most psychologists, what I found is it becomes a very narrow and deep study. And they might study one little piece in their dissertation as they're writing and studying. And I found, unfortunately, a lot of psychologists who are kind of dysfunctional. And so I let go of the role of psychology and just tried to understand how we work and how our minds work. And I began to apply those principles to leadership and to developing executive teams. And I found, for me, it's leadership from the inside out. It's not understanding some theoretical, philosophical school of psychology, but it's understanding and gaining mastery and wisdom regarding how our consciousness works and how you can then, with that understanding, master your consciousness. Because for me, when I talk about executive excellence, it's beyond a role in an organization. It's mastering the executive function that is the prefrontal cortex of your brain. So the recovering element is, I jumped through those hoops and recognized that the real work isn't in any kind of cognitive understanding. Yes, that helps, but the most powerful work starts from where you are right now. To be able to have that kind of open the window to a deeper awareness of yourself, to understand those patterns of thinking and of feeling and behaving that you developed in your brain when you came into the world, and to know that those patterns are still dictating and driving how you show up today.
So I'm fascinated by this because I'm curious, how do you identify where you are now in order to build from there?
So looking at yourself, colorful, big personality, love the shirt, love the energy, the enthusiasm. Guess what? This is not something you just developed today. You might say it's your style. Your style is really a ruse because your style is nothing more than your personality showing up in any particular environment. So your personality shows up at work, we call it our leadership style. To deconstruct that, peel back the layers of your leadership style and understand it's your personality, then you start to see, oh, we wired these elements in our personality. When we were 3 years old, our brain was creating 1 million neural connections a second. And
Wow.
because we're born so early when we're not fully baked, unlike animals who are, a deer can drop and can run in 30 minutes. Humans takes 18 years to grow up because we have this huge brain that's ultra sophisticated. We're born before we're fully baked. And so because of that, we're really susceptible to the influences in our environment. And so you become, I think of myself and maybe yourself, youngest child in your family. Where did you fall in your family system?
Well, you see, now that's a fascinatingly complicated one because my father, the philanderer that he was, I was fourth. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth in line out of 6 that we know of, but the only one from my mom.
So with all of that noise, all of these people, you develop some patterns early on that helped you get your attention needs met.
Undoubtedly.
You were the cute charmer. You were or they might say the charming manipulator, right? You know how to manage all these older.
They called me a 40-year-old midget. That was the family phrase for me.
The 40-year-old midget?
Yep.
Love it. Love it. So there's something. You knew how to keep up with the big boys and girls around you and probably with a joke, probably with some sort of entertainment, something that got them laughing, that just took their guard down. You knew how to become a master of that dynamic. In a way, your survival was at stake when you did that. That's how you got your attention needs met. Oh, brilliant. You set the program back then because you didn't have it. But based on your environmental experience, you start to realize, ooh, stimulus response. When I do this, this happens. And guess what? That 1 million neural connections per second formed that into your brain. And now decades later, you'll play out that same behavior pattern and thinking pattern. But sometimes I'm going to bet you put your foot in your mouth, or sometimes it undermines what you're trying to create. Am I right?
Wow. You've done this before. This is good.
So, and that's the real work, right? If you're going to be really lead yourself first, what we're talking about is with that kind of awareness, now you can recognize when to let your natural developed personality, and I say it's natural, it's not really natural, it's developed, it's programmed. When to let that flourish, that's your comfort zone, but also to know when to rein that back and to step out of your comfort zone. Because sometimes you being in your zone will get you a result you don't want.
Oh, it's undoubtedly true. I've lived that time and again. And at the ripe, young, gray-haired age of 45, having put my foot in my mouth, been the boisterous character when it's completely wrong, told the joke in the middle of the funeral, that type of thing. You learn that you've got to make some changes. And boy, it's amazing what you just did there. It's spot on.
So, well, this is the beautiful thing. For me, that's why I think of it as this notion of leading yourself first is really about developing wisdom. The wisdom to be able to understand that you just being in your comfort zone will not get you the result you want in your life, won't help you create the impact you want, the relationships you want, the wealth you want, all of the areas that you want in your life will be undermined sometimes by you just being that self that I go back to, it's not your natural self. You programmed it. It's like you installed the software back in those early days, and now it plays out. And it's very comfortable because when it works, it gives you a positive dopamine hit. It's fun. You like it. But then when it doesn't work, and that's the thing, to learn how to be able to understand that context and to know when to step out of the comfort zone, when to be uncomfortable and not say the thing you want to say, or go 180 degrees from what your natural response might be, so that you're in alignment with the vision of who you want to be. And this is the thing that I think most people don't take time to really think about, what their vision is. Who are they becoming? So because of that, most people just ingrain the patterns of who they've always been, do more of the same thing. And then with executives, when that doesn't work, they blame the other people. They're lazy. They don't get it.
Okay.
They don't want to work hard, and they don't recognize that everybody in the system is relating to them and reacting to them and responding to them. If you want to change your company, you have to begin by changing yourself and being able to step out of that comfort zone to make sure that you're getting ultimately, again, what is it? It all goes back to the results. It's a result play, and that ties back to having clarity of your vision, understanding who you're becoming.
So all of this feels like you've been on a hot take tear already, because you're unpacking a lot of stuff that I think is probably going to shake some people because they're in patterns. Things aren't aligning with what they wish, but it's not necessarily a vision. A wish isn't a vision, right?
Right.
And so this could be challenging already, but I didn't actually ask you if you had a specific hot take to go over yet. So my question now is, on the professional side, and we can talk about whether, you've got a funny hot take later, but is there something that you're contrarian about, or something that, other leadership authors, gurus, experts would maybe disagree with you on, but you really believe heartily in a certain direction?
100%. The one thing I see so many folks are so big into, I think of, for example, the EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System. Huge stuff. Everybody loves it. The businesses do that, want to scale, and it helps them create the systems and the processes and the meetings that are effective. What they miss is the fact that it's a human organization, for people, by people, to a human end. Every organization without exception. I've worked with financial institutions who will tell you, we're a financial institution, and I have to stop and correct them. You're not a financial institution. You are a human institution. You happen to work in finance, but everything you do is only to a human end. So when I see organizations that make their decisions based on the next quarter's results and keeping the shareholders happy, I find organizations that quickly become on a downward slope because they create a company that nobody wants to be a part of. In fact, I worked with somebody just yesterday who said, my company has no soul. I said, it has no soul.
Ouch.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know why anybody would want to be here. He said, it's great, we're successful, but it's always just get. Nothing's ever enough, always getting more. To what end? Eventually, we all find our foot in the grave. We're not creating a culture. We're not creating the place that people want to be, want to spend a third of their life at. Half of their waking life is in this place. Why wouldn't we create a place, especially in today's economy when employees are hard to come by, create a place people want to be? But instead, this organization, and I love it, the founder, and I see this with founders all the time, founder syndrome. Hey, I'm paying them, they should do their job. I'm not here to babysit. Brilliant. You're not here to babysit. They should do their job. And in the meantime, you're creating disengagement in your company. People don't give a rat. They just go through the motions because they don't feel cared about. They don't feel like it's fun. They don't feel like the company has a soul.
So what would your advice be? And maybe not specifically to that company, but if you feel like you're on a soulless track in a business, what's the quick answer? I know there's no quick answer, but what would give somebody a little boost towards finding the soul or creating the soul?
Well, I think you nailed it. Creating the soul. We think it's going to happen somewhere else. So it's ultimately an indicator that I don't feel the soul. What if you started bringing the soul regardless of what was going on around you? We allow ourselves to be hijacked by our environment. Oh, they don't have the soul, so I come in soulless. Or I've seen leaders who, I work with one organization, a new executive came on board, and this woman was a director in the company. And she said, the new executive came on board. He didn't come up. He didn't shake my hand. He didn't introduce himself. I said, okay, so what did you do? Did you shrink because of that? Or did you rise up because of that? And she paused. She said, no, I shrank. He didn't behave in a way I thought he should. So I became less. I shrank. I'm like, well, what if you went up and shook his hand and welcomed him on board? What if you stepped up? What if you were the demonstration of soul in the organization? Not waiting for somebody else to do it. Be that person that you want to see in the organization. It changes everything.
It's very Gandhi of you.
It's my Gandhian influence. Yes, indeed.
I love it. So actually, have you ever read the book, The Fred Factor?
Yes, I have.
Right. It's very Fred-like, isn't it? I mean, when you've got the best postman in the world, how do you know they're the best postman? They're the friendliest. They're most attentive. They know when you're on vacation. They can say happy birthday to your kids. They're friends with the dog not being chased by the dog. They're the best postman. They don't have to be. They could just drop off letters. They could just pick up packages. But that was a notable person in the Fred story.
Mm-hmm.
So I live in Orlando, Florida. We go to Gatorland all the time. And Gatorland they used to call it the best half-day theme park in Orlando because you could spend 3 or 4 hours there and get most of it in. And it is, I don't know, it's, they know what they are. It's very hick, it's very kitschy, and it's glorious in their awareness. And it feels like home because absolutely every employee, from janitorial staff to people who sell you food to feed to the gators, to the CEO, to the food staff, everybody is a Fred. They go out of the way to set the tone in the moment. They've figured out how to be authentic as a group. And what you're describing in that moment is you're saying, hey, rise up and shake the CEO's hand. Don't shrink down, because that person could lead the charge to spreading that type of behavior to build the soul.
Yes. Yes. It's you. It's not somebody else. I love it. That vision of Gatorland. I can see it now. A quick personal question. So did you wrestle any alligators while you were there?
My son did. I kid you not. So you can actually pay $10 to get a picture with a gator. And by the way, I've asked them, I said, do you actually care for these animals, or are they just tools? And they adore these animals. So it's really not abusive. I was actually curious about that. But my son, Will, who he was 6 at the time, but he's built like more like a 10-year-old. He's huge. He got right on top of a gator, grabbed that mouth, which was taped shut safely. But he grabbed that mouth, and he's got this big toothless grin at the moment because the gator definitely had more teeth than he did. And he got to sit on and hold that gator for probably 3 minutes. So he's the one who did it. I didn't.
That's fantastic. And it's a memory. I love it. So easily and clear in your head. Think about how they're creating that experience for individuals, and they don't have to. They can just go through the motions. What is it you suppose that they're doing? Like, how do they ignite that flame in their culture that gets people, the employees, to be that contagious in their excitement? What are they doing that's working?
Well, I'll tell you, at least from the top down, it's the original family that built that place in 49 that still owns it. It's a younger generation operating it, obviously. But one of the things that I know, because I've seen it firsthand, is the leadership knows every employee's name, and even the vendors that are coming through, they know their names as well. And we've got another podcast coming in right now, but he can hang out for a second. We're still actively recording. So I've never had that happen. You're the first one to have that ever happen.
Join the party.
It is just a fascinating thing to watch the CEO walk in, and he knows everybody's name and their story. And this is a big organization. They've got a lot of employees, and everybody treats each other as true family. And I've never seen a family atmosphere in a business like that. I go to Disney, I go to SeaWorld. We've been to the Universals, these big theme parks that are their competitors. And they say that they have these great cultures. Doesn't even compare to Gatorland, because there is no way on earth the CEO of Disney knows the janitor's name.
Well, and this is the hot take, right? When you think about what the role of an executive in a company is it to focus on the next quarter's returns, or is it to know the people by name who run the organization? Because I'll tell you what, I've seen too many executive CEOs and founders who have their heads down, they're down in the weeds getting stuff done, and nobody wants to be there. But when you take the time to know people, engagement goes through the roof. It's an attractant to customers. Customers want to come and be a part of this zany place where you can go sit your 6-year-old kid on a alligator. Just
absolutely.
Fantastic.
It's absolutely fantastic. So, Kevin, what I want to do right now is I want to point out that you are about to release a free downloadable that you call the Vision Mastery Playbook that seems to connect to this type of thinking. Can you just tell me what we would get from that Vision Mastery Playbook?
100%. What I find is any organization, any large organization, this gator farm, they have a sense of what their vision is, who they're trying to be. Large companies do it. Often it's a platitude on a wall. But what I find that happens is that the majority of leaders, executives, and just humans don't have clarity of their vision. And without clarity of your vision, without knowing the person that you're evolving to become as a leader, and when I talk about a leader, you start with leading yourself. Who is the person you're going to be within? And then to be able to build those relationships in your personal life, as a leader at work, as an executive, as a CEO. So the the Vision Mastery Playbook is not only explaining why vision is powerful, but it's an actual a playbook that people go through and develop clarity of their own vision. And they end up leaving with a clear vision statement that is, when rehearsed, it actually changes how your brain is wired. This is what I think is powerful. At the beginning, we talked about those patterns. You're able to identify that how you came into the world and how it plays out now. It's really, really key to be able to have clarity of, so that you can get off autopilot when it's not helping you. Have clarity of what that vision is. What is the person you want to become? And direct your thinking and your behavior towards that, as opposed to just letting those patterns play out that you developed early on. Again,
this is amazing. Yeah. So this Vision Mastery Playbook is going to give me some nuggets, some ways to think and act to go that direction.
Yes, not only nuggets, but give you the vision out of the whole thing. It's a process by which you develop clarity, starting with a data dump, brainstorm, lay it all out, and then teaches you how to bring it all together into a singly pointed. It's almost like Nike, just do it. But what's your vision of who you're becoming? In that way, when you find that you need to step out of your comfort zone, it's that North Star. It's the compass that helps you guide your decision making and your interactions so you can have the most influence in your life.
This is awesome. All right. So I know that releases end of Q2, early Q3. And vision.mazeleadership.com. Let me say it again, everybody. The word is vision.mazeleadership.com. It's all spelled exactly how you would expect it. There's no surprise weird spellings in there, no hyphenations, no slashes, no nothing. Vision.mazeleadership.com. And that's how you can get the Vision Mastery Playbook from Dr. Kevin Mays. And Kevin, this has been a blast. Thank you for doing what we do here together. This is great.
This is brilliant. Thank you. This is fantastic. Thanks for the conversation you're bringing to the world. It's awesome. I love the work you're doing. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. And Bootstrapped Unicorns, this has been another episode where you've hung out with me and a new friend and learned something important for your business that you should be applying today. And so go get that from him, Vision Mastery Playbook. Make yourself better tomorrow than you were today. And also, if you haven't liked, subscribed, followed all the things, what are you doing? We hang out together to make our businesses better together. You should be hanging out with me and all of my friends. We're Bootstrapped Unicorns. You're a Bootstrapped Unicorn, whether you know it or not. So join this army, follow along. We're having fun. Now, without further ado, you know how this rolls. You got to get back to work.